This video is a quick summary and theory, lore, plot analysis of the second story in Fazbear Frights number 3, 1:35 a.m., Room for One More. There are major spoilers if you haven't read the book yet, so please go do that first or watch if you don't need to. Stanley is working as a guard for an underground animatronic facility. The last guard apparently died from a miraculous heart attack. Stanley is supposed to watch the security cameras to make sure nothing gets out, but he usually just takes a nap while there. One day after waking up, he finds a little ballerina doll on his desk. The doll says, "We like you and take us home with you." Stanley then falls asleep, but when he wakes up, the doll had disappeared, so he could not take it home. The same thing happens for the next couple nights, and Stanley starts getting sick. His throat becomes sore and his right arm becomes swollen and stiff. Over the next couple nights, each of his limbs becomes more stiff and his throat is extremely sore. On one of the nights, he realizes that the mini arena on his desk this night was different than the ones from the prior nights. He then falls asleep and has a nightmare about an animatronic doctor stretching his mouth way too wide open. He wakes up from the dream, but the stretching doesn't stop. Then he realizes that a mini arena is stretching his mouth wide enough to go down his throat. The realization is that his throat is sore because of the mini arenas going down it, and the stiff limbs are because of the mini arenas inside of him, in his limbs. Stanley runs out and almost makes his way to the exit, but is stopped by a mini arena that jumps at him. Stanley likely dies to the mini arenas in the sister location. This story was the shortest story in the book, pretty much half the size of the others, and was actually the least gruesome story, if that's hard to believe. This book does not have any good endings. So, the mini arenas always say "we" when talking to him. I'm guessing that's like they're interconnected, like through the agony energy we hear about in the Stitch story. And how we know that this is the sister location facility is, one, there's mini arenas, and two, he describes that the place has green lights, and that looks just like the sister location main module area that Mike works on his shift. The mini arenas tell him to take them home every night, but he wakes up and they're gone. Well, thing is, he actually does take them home, because every night they had been widening his mouth and shooting themselves down his throat, and were actually going inside each limb, which was technically taking them home, and this would seem pretty random if we hadn't seen something similar. Animatronics hiding inside a body to escape the facility. It sounds a lot like Ennard's attempt to escape through Mike, using him as a flesh suit at the time. The reference to Room for One More, that's the name of this story, is actually relating to what the mini arena says at the end of the book. Isn't there room for just one more? And it actually relates to how the mini arenas are inside of him. There's room for them to escape through his body, basically, out of sister location. And it's a clever title, just like how sister location was about the sister and everything like that. One strange detail is that right before he wakes up and sees the mini arena on his desk, he's actually had nightmares of the Funtime animatronics in various ways, and he hadn't actually seen the animatronics, so it's good to wonder, how is he having nightmares of them? Well, I just want to keep tying in the idea of agony energy, and that this whole facility is filled with it, and it somehow affects his nightmares, and affects his mind, and shows him these visions of these animatronics that exist there, but he hasn't seen them. Now, on this story's connection to any of the other stories or the games, it doesn't seem that this one is connected to the game universe and the main FNaF timeline, but it does seem that it is connected to Into the Pit, because Stanley had a girlfriend before all this happened, and she broke up with him and then started dating someone who worked at the snack space. The snack space is actually mentioned in Into the Pit, as Oswald's father works there as his new job. So we could see these two tied together, but I don't believe that either of these falls into the game universe or is connected with it. While this story isn't directly connected to the game series, there is crossover and there is symbolism, and how I saw this is not specifically the main story, but how he gets to the sister location. And this might be wrong. This is just trying to solve one of the big things that we missed from this series. It's that he goes through, a lumber yard and down a small bit of stairs to get there. It's random. It's not a building to get into the sister location. It's just a random spot. And that reminded me of something from Midnight Motorist. We saw that random lump in the ground and always wondered what it was. Well, would it be crazy to say that that lump could possibly be the entrance to sister location, the facility? I do think it might be kind of a stretch, but it is an option to note when trying to solve what that is. We still don't have the clearest of answers for that particular part of that game. Of the 1:35 a.m. book, I'd say that this was my favorite story from this book, against the other two, and I liked it. It was really good. It showed us a different perspective to the FNaF sister location formula that we hadn't seen before. If you have any theories or ideas that could relate to this story or anything else in 1:35 a.m., please leave them in the comments if you wish.